ready to head off the trails. I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm ready to take you on a mysterious journey right now. We welcome you to Off the Trails right here on the Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel. If you guys haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. We would love to have you guys. Shout out to Bumblefoot for that amazing intro music. I always appreciate that. We rock out every weekend to Bumblefoot. You guys can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. You guys can follow me at thecryptidhuntress.com, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. I have wonderful shows there every week. I have a live show every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern and another live show every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, which involves remote viewing. And my guest tonight, Barry Littleton, joins me on that show pretty often. He gives me some blind targets that blows my mind. It always blows my mind. We have a great time over on my channel. Also, you guys, please visit my shop. It's called War Woman Goods. That's over on Etsy. And if you'd like to support my work and follow along with my remote viewing data, you can join my Patreon. That's at the Cryptid Huntress over on Patreon. So please do that if you feel inclined. I would love to have you guys be a part of my family over there. Okay. Also, we're going to be having a huge fan party at Spaced Out Radio on May 19th through the 21st in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's at the Golden Nugget. We're going to be broadcasting live from the Golden Nugget with the biggest and brightest in the UFO field and the Bigfooting community and the Dogman community. We're going to have a really great time. So I hope you guys will meet me over there. I'll be there live and direct. Okay. And then I'm going straight over to Grafton, Illinois with the fellas from Journey to Truth conference or podcast. They're going to have their conference in Grafton, Illinois. So y'all join me over there as well. All right. I have a fantastic guest here at Spaced Out Radio tonight. I have Barry Littleton in the studio tonight. We are going to talk about something that is so mind-blowing, so wild. It's going to make people think. It made my brain hurt, okay, thinking about this stuff. But don't forget that right after this show, After Hours has an amazing program set up for us. All right, so y'all please check them out. And let's get to our guest tonight. Barry Littleton is a graduate in psychology, sociology, and ethnic studies from Wichita State University. Barry has been, for the last couple of decades, involved in administration for at-risk youth, including cognitive behavioral modification and managing aggressive behavior. He's also an option stock trader. He's researched and practiced several aspects of the spiritual, metaphysical, and paranormal. And Barry is a very good friend of mine. We do a whole lot of work together, as y'all know, especially if you're over on my channel, The Cryptid Huntress. And Barry is a wealth of knowledge, and I would love for you guys to help me welcome to the show tonight, Mr. Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
Hey, what's up, Jessica? Happy Easter. Happy Easter to your entire audience, too. Hope you all had good ones. So.
Thank you, Barry. Happy Easter to you too. I tell you, the Easter Bunny did come to my house this morning. My son had a whole bunch of candy, and it shows. He's been wild all day.
Yeah, I know the little sugar buddies, the Cadbury buddy to get everybody wired up, right?
he had a 4-pack of those, and plus a bunch of other stuff. So. Yeah, maybe next year the Easter Bunny will bring him more toys than candy. How about that? We're gonna make some adjustments.
Change it up.
Yes.
Right.
I'm gonna request that from the Easter Bunny next year. Yeah, but nonetheless, it's a beautiful day. It's been a very interesting day, and I've had a lot of fun talking with you about what we're going to be talking about tonight, Barry. And it's something that we've never talked about before. It's something that's new to me. But you've been talking about this for quite a while in a certain context. Walking trees and shape-shifting Sasquatches. Okay. And I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but I've had guests on the show that we've talked continuously about trees possibly being portals, trees possibly being Sasquatch, okay, and Sasquatch having a relationship to trees or some sort of like chlorophyll, right? Like their hairs having it in them.
The blood might contain chlorophyll.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Very interesting. Well, you and I have made this really strange but very fascinating connection to walking trees and Sasquatch, right?
Yeah,
Well, let's talk about it.
you know, wow, several different ways to come from this. All right, first saying, it was when I encountered Tom Powell in 2017. It was that really he turned me on to this aspect of it. And sometimes when someone says something to you that really truly resonates, it's like the whole world, it stops your world. When he
Yeah.
had said that they live in trees, his exact words, they live in trees. He said it twice. Second time I say, you mean like as in arboreal? I've heard that before, about these trees that the Sasquatch climb up in the redwood forest that are known that they're smooth in a certain way. The Sasquatch go up and live in the canopy. And I've heard that
Okay.
several times. So I says, is that what you mean? He says, no. I said, you mean they're like living in the trunks or something, like making a cabin in there? He's like, no, that they symbiotically merge with the tree. And that's what they're capable
Wow.
of doing. And then I've heard other things since then that the same way that Sasquatch drains batteries, something about them drains power, period.
It does.
And that is the
All
same thing
paranormal
they do.
does.
They use the
Yeah.
trees to manifest. And a lot of times when people hear these tree knocks, it's not as much as them breaking trees as it is them manifesting out of them. And
Ooh.
that concept blew me away. So when dealing with
Okay.
this, all right, I believe that we're dealing with only certain types of Sasquatch that could do this. Probably type ones and maybe type four, perhaps. I think type two and type three can't do it. And type two, you've noted yourself, and I'd heard this through witnesses' accounts, that type two, let me see, yeah, the type two, the more chimpanzee type, that they're more like us. They're more 3D. All right. And you had
Okay.
said in one of your remote viewing shows that we did that the ones you saw, I can't remember which target it was, but the Sasquatch themselves, you described them as looking almost like larger chimpanzees. So that would be
Mm-hmm.
that type two, and that they did not have paranormal abilities. They were more just
Yes.
normal. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's a type. I don't believe they're involved in this. But the type ones, perhaps the types 4 or 2, have something we don't know what that nuclear DNA is. What is that? It's got something to do with not just star species, but something to do with trees. And I'd heard
Wow.
several military people doing like whistleblowers, and one of those stories has come back up on, I want to say, Bigfoot Project. That lady Lynn Smith does a real good job reading off just hundreds of those things. One of them she talks about is that military deal. And I've heard that before years and years ago, several times. But that when the blood that they've analyzed of the Sasquatch that had been shot had large amounts of chlorophyll in it. And that's
Wow.
fascinating to me because, chlorophyll and hemoglobin have a lot of similarities, with the exception of like iron and magnesium, I believe it is. And, in that way, actually, chlorophyll is used to gather light for photosynthesis in plants, as to where
Yeah.
hemoglobin is uses to transport from oxygen from our lungs to the rest of our body. So they're slightly different, but I mean, molecule wise, not much. And we talk about all these types of things, these laboratory that Earth. God, I thought I fixed this thing. I'm sinking again.
Is that
Sorry.
your chair?
Yeah,
Don't
it
fall.
sucks. Yeah,
Don't fall,
anyway,
Barry.
I'll be if I get underneath the thing, I'll come back. But anyway,
Oh my gosh.
anyway,
Well,
but
no, you're coming back. You're just sinking. It's okay.
yeah, that's
We're on a sinking ship tonight.
yeah. But when dealing with this
Off the
Earth being a
rails.
possible laboratory, I mean,
Uh-huh.
that's just something we're looking at right here. These types of hominid Sasquatch things that exist on this planet. There's a bunch of
Okay.
different types, going all
There
the way
are.
back to even Homo naledi. The way Homo naledi walks when they animated that, it's got a what is it? Pronounced double pronounced knee joints that walks just like Patty. That's it's
Oh, that's
amazing. So
right.
yeah, so I mean, when dealing with this, we don't know what we're dealing with DNA wise, but taking this a step further, okay, shape shifting, and when we start dealing with people like the Nawals and the Toltecs and certain shamans that were able to do these shape shifting techniques beyond even skinwalker stuff. Now, I'll just throw this out, all right? When I was
Okay.
taught about this when I was still in high school, we meet these teachers that come into our lives.
Right.
And the first person to talk about shapeshifting to me was dealing with dream attention. And when you deal actually the dream attention, when you can focus your dream attention and have a certain control over the dream body does not conform to any of the physical parameters of this body, and shape is one of them.
Okay.
So if you have the ability to shift your cognitive abilities and consciousness into the dream body, then you can shapeshift. When in fact your body's over there laying crashed out, but you're in your dream body doing these. And you do that by actually focusing your full attention and awareness on the object you want to be. In a way, like if it was like for me, I focuses on these stretched red mites that were on my front driveway. And just the way they move in these patterns was odd. So I would do like what's called a gazing technique on them, or breathing techniques, and observe every single thing about them. And that's the beginning when you go into the dream body of molding that body into a shapeshift. Anyway, going forward.
Wow.
So if I'm able to tell you this now, and you have cultures that develop this, certain teachers and shamans, what makes you think the Sasquatch doesn't know this? And some of this didn't come from them. And so when Tom Powell told me, he said, and I had this encounter with the squirrel we won't go into that was some sort of a shape-shifting event, all right? And that these creatures can shape-shift, so they can shape-shift, as he said, not just into animals, but into trees, and especially tree stumps.
Ooh.
He said so often they're seen looking like, think about the times we hear people saying they don't just come out of trees, but they are seen materialize out of them, but that they appear to be stumps. They walk by and like it was told to me, when you go into a forest area like you do, you count all the trees that are there when you enter. And then when you leave, you count them again.
Yes.
So, so you're dealing with that one focus. And when you deal with that, when I threw that out, I think it was Susan Manwich had told me on her property, she had several trees that have been hit by lightning.
Okay.
And she said that their energy body was still there, as if they were still full, although they were stumps at that point. Now, that's perfect for a Sasquatch to be able to mimic energetically. Very important there, all right, for them. So that's one part of this. Another part, where I'll be quiet, I feel like I'm talking too much here. But we're dealing with also them using these portals, as everybody's talking about, and materializing. That means they're using these portals. They're able to use the quantum hologram as well. And the quantum hologram, as I've described it before on your show, when you go into one of these wormholes, one of these black holes, it creates that perfect copy on the surface, which is the quantum hologram. So they're able to use that. And we see these trees walking, all right? That makes no sense, because one is they have roots. You know how deep roots go? They have to uproot all that. You see something totally different going on. There's some type of a hologram technology going on there. Hologram consciously, a lot of these beings, extraterrestrials, can do it. Makes you think that the Sasquatch can't. So that's just another thing to address. Them able to use the quantum hologram for their ability for invisibility and other things, along with the hair on them that has been shown to be so slightly translucent. We have several things going on here. That's another indication that there is chlorophyll in their blood. This goes to me. It goes pretty deep, and with them being involved with trees. And if you think going back, Jessica, when did they first? When the term Bigfoot, didn't it come from the redwood forest when they were doing that logging, and suddenly the footprints started coming? Mm-hmm. When people start devastating the forest, they show up. And I'll just throw this out, okay? I do these regressions, and I get forever blown away by them. No matter how many of them I do, each one is so different that it blows me away. All right.
Hypnotic regressions, right? Hypnosis.
Yeah, hypnosis. Yes. Just 2 days ago, I had a client, and this client is super big empath. And during this life between lives regression, the reason they're here now is to work with the earth and this earth thing. They're so connected to the earth and trees. And they talked about the tree of systems connecting and all this. And it was just fascinating. So they went on, but they're not a Sasquatch person, all right?
Okay.
Have had maybe a couple experiences they were unaware of to our sessions, but that's not really their thing. And just towards the end of this, I just threw it out and said, what is the Sasquatch relation to trees?
And you asked them that. You ask someone under hypnosis. It's actually kind of genius, in my opinion. I don't know.
Well,
I
thanks.
love
That's
it.
nice.
Okay.
Thanks. You know what they said? They
What'd they say?
oh, and this is somebody that's in almost Delta. Like, oh,
Delta. That's deep.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
deep.
very deep. And you take
Deep.
if you
Right.
take them into full Delta, then it becomes hard to retain anything from the session for them, and it becomes more of a sleep. But you get them right
Yes.
about Delta, and they say, well, that makes sense. They are trees, and then they say all trees are Sasquatch, and all Sasquatch are trees.
Whoa.
And this
Okay.
person knows nothing about manifesting of Sasquatch. They're not into that. They've not watched
But
my
that's
videos or any of that. Okay.
but that's
And
something
they
you and
say,
I talk about.
yeah. They say
Wow.
when they manifest using the tree, they use the tree to manifest. They come out of the trees, but when they do that, the popping wipes the tree out. And
The
they can't
popping?
do it. They can't do it with the same tree too many times. Manifest out of it because it burns the tree out. It's really hard on the tree. I found that fascinating. The stuff that
What?
was being said. You know what I mean? And look, I don't make the rules. I just observe them and I try to understand the stuff. So I'll turn this over to you. I think I've talked to death. I'm probably going to get booed off your show, but that's kind of where I'm
No.
coming from with this and
Very.
how we're dealing with these. To a certain degree.
This is actually a whole new level of research, actually, because you're able to tap into people's subconscious mind and to go there to their people's higher selves and ask these questions that it's a little cutting edge in my opinion. Okay. And
Well, thanks.
yeah, I think that's cutting edge, and to be able to have people who have no interest in Bigfoot whatsoever, who are doing regressive therapy, talk about Sasquatch and confirm what you've been saying all along. I'm
Yeah,
just saying, and you have the videos to prove that on
know
your
what?
Patreon
I
and your
want to give you
YouTube.
the thanks too, because some of the work we're doing, I decided to each week. I've done all this stuff on Patreon. There's not many people there with me, and Spirit started telling me to release some of this stuff. And then the
Yes,
Sasquatch, they really wanted me to release it. So each week, I've got like probably I don't know 15 of them. Each week, I've been putting one on there, and I put one on yesterday that I didn't want to show. There's certain editing problems it had, and I just didn't want to show it. And you convinced me
I thought it was
to
great.
put it up.
Who
I did,
cares?
and I can't believe the
Yeah.
responses it got. Because I went up. I got like another 1,000 and some subscribers the last month or so when something went down.
Congrats.
And it's cool,
You
but
deserve it.
my views went down 500. It's really odd. I know it's an
Wow.
algorithm. It's not. It's all to discourage you from doing this stuff.
It
I know
is.
some people in this
Yeah.
community talking. They stream BS. BS. And they're just holding their phones talking BS. And everybody, and they get like thousands of likes and all that stuff. And I know it's a energy force that is involved in
Yes.
that to burn us out. It gets all of our energies connected to likes and views. And all of a sudden people, it messes
That's
people
right.
up. It's like a demon over that. So I'm just
Yes.
going forward anyway. And I thank
Me
you for
too.
that because I wanted to kind of get out of this stuff a little bit. And our work has made me kind of stick around more.
Yes.
So
Listen,
thank you.
I feel like I probably I'm not saying I should be getting more views or getting more likes, whatever. It's fine. I love, I am so grateful for every single view that I get on my shows and every like.
Me
And
too.
but it's not all about that. It's not the quantity of the views. It's the quality of the people seeing it, and it's the right people seeing these things because that's just the way the universe works. We're putting this information out there for the right people, Barry, and so it's not going to reach the masses perhaps, but it's going to reach the right people at the right time. And
Yeah.
it's all about awakening humanity and us just putting our thoughts together and putting our research. You and I do a lot of research, and I'm the boots on the ground. You're boots on the ground, and you're doing the book work and the real research into all this. So kudos to us. Is all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
thank you.
Like I think
Thank
we're
you.
doing a
You
great
too.
job. Yes, I think we're
Um,
doing a good job as a team, Barry.
Yeah, I agree. And I enjoy working with
Yeah.
you. It's a good
Thank
environment.
you.
I think we compliment each other where we don't step on each other's toes much. It's cool stuff. I think you're
Yes.
one of my soul
We're
tribe,
soul
definitely soul
family.
group, soul group.
Absolutely. Yes.
Um, Something else I threw out real quick. I wanted to touch on that video. What I was doing was comparing Sasquatch to in Europe. Oh Lord, Europe. is often called the Green Man. And a lot of people were commenting on there saying the Forest Green Man, how they've had an encounter or they've seen the Green Man manifest out of trees. On my YouTube channel, on that video, there's a few people saying that. And, that goes into not just imagination, but that also goes into third sight. When you start really using the pineal gland, a certain amount of the imagination does kick in. That's how it works. So.
Oh, wow. Oh, we have an interesting comment here from New England Dirt Roadie. He says, hey, Barry, I looked into the chlorophyll blood transfusions, but it seems that Google has scrubbed the internet of any information.
Oh, okay. That's the individual that talked about the transfusion of them. And that actually, I think it was him that had said that the military was doing before, maybe it was Vietnam War, he said they were doing these blood transfusions using chlorophyll instead of actual blood. I never heard that, so I wanted to see if there were any links, and they probably did scrub it. I'm not surprised,
Wow, interesting.
Isn't it though?
It's
Isn't
so
it really
interesting. Yes.
I've got when you think about also contrasting Sasquatch's ability with invisibility, okay, and those hairs that was like, I've done a video over that too, invisibility on Sasquatch, but all that's on my channel on playlist. Look up the Sasquatch Bigfoot things. It's on them on there.
Okay.
But those hairs were shown to be not just translucent, but have slight green tinge to it.
They do. That's
yeah,
right.
and when you deal with that and the fact that they have so much, you look at all the grease they leave on windows and stuff. They're greasy beings.
Oily. Extremely.
Oh man, yeah, they're greasy. But when you start seriously dealing with that and how that grease can do a refraction of light between that and the hairs themselves, it shows what you have something similar when you have what everybody says they look like Predator when they came up, that movie, how you could see the jungle through them and stuff. It's somewhat similar. And at the end of these Sasquatch videos I'll show two. The last two I'll show are the ones I took at the Assetti Ranch in 2019 when I went out there to speak the last time, and excuse the cuss word, excuse me. My butt took these I tried to do some gifting out there. It was recommended by Tom and some Native Americans I talked to. So I tried this gifting and all this weird stuff started happening. And I got some pictures that I think shows one of them using this refractory. Yeah, it's very interesting, Anyway,
Wow.
You were saying something. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, I love the fact that you have firsthand experience in the field with Bigfoot. And I know that that's not something that you set out. You're not a Bigfoot field researcher, but you were able to have firsthand experience with Bigfoot's like kind of trying to trick you a little bit and gift you when you were out at a SETI ranch. And you've had some interactions with them before, so I can totally appreciate that about you, Barry. So you know what's up. Yeah,
they touched my life.
Yes.
So so it's like, and Tom Powell, last time I ever talked to that guy, he says, weird cat. Oh Barry, you think maybe you might be a Sasquatch whisperer? I said, what? He said, you might be a Sasquatch whisperer. I said, man, I've never even technically seen one. He said, it doesn't matter. You seem to know a lot about them. And he started tripping me out. You know what I mean? But in reality, they touched my life like they've touched yours. And I want to know more about them. The same way when I was in the presence of a non-human on one of these craft. Fortunately, I wasn't being assaulted like these SSP people, a whole different thing. But I became obsessed with finding out what was going on, trying to solidify. You're chasing the phenomenon, but really the phenomenon is chasing us. It's chasing your entire audience. That's why they're into this stuff, and it's cool. I think that's us, this evolution of shift of consciousness. That's that right there, and the fact that we can communicate like we are now. Anyway, sorry.
I'm totally into this.
Powerful subject to me, I think. So I get a little too hyped.
Well, I think it is because you and I have talked about this over and over again about them having a connection to trees, and not only the tree connection to Bigfoot, but also the tree connection to Dogman. I had Tony Green, who's one of my teammates, on my show here at Spaced Out Radio, and he was telling us about his a story about his uncle running out behind their house, running behind a tree, and then a wolf came out on the other side. It was almost like the tree was a portal of some sort, where he was able to transform into another animal. Like his whole body transformed. And when it was ready, when it was time for him to come back, a wolf ran back from the woods, and then his uncle came out on the other side of the tree when it passed by the tree. So, and this is a story that I hear over and over again. This is not. It's very common, Barry. So there's something to do with trees.
You remember my private group on TARDIS on Facebook? I had posted
Yes.
a story. There was a military gentleman that's talked about working at some base where they could see these ranchers would be out there with their cows and stuff, and then one of the ranchers comes in and is talking to him, and then he's time for him to change shift, and he said, "You got to leave," and the guy stands there, looks at him, and he says the guy turns into a tree right in front of him, and then there's a tree at a place on this base there never was before, and it stayed there, and people walk by going, "Where did that tree come from?" And he swears it was this gentleman that he thought was a rancher out there. So it takes us again to that shapeshift type of thing.
Yeah.
That and something else I want to throw this out, all right, before I disappear in this hole down here.
Don't fall.
All over. A thing about Sasquatch standing still. I heard so many stories about that, and about some even alpha males lining up to where they look like several trees out in a field or somewhere at the end of a forest, and they're standing there a certain way, almost like they're praying towards Mecca or something weird, But
Okay.
point being, I've heard several times, and with what happened to me, with what I was talking about at SETI, how this Sasquatch, I'm pretty sure this one was a female, was able to get by me and get to these apples, and she was right on me all the time by one of these trees. But then I started hearing about how they will stand there hours and hours and hours, perhaps even days,
Like a statue.
before someone shows up when they know you're coming, and how they just stand still like that. Not just that, but on the floor, on the ground, laying still like logs on the ground for hours and hours, if not days. And then you got to accept too, what's this with the crawling like spiders thing? What is that?
Ooh, that's
I
creepy.
hear that all the time.
I've seen a video of that. It is so creepy. Yeah, I don't know, Barry. I don't know. I mean, this has taken me back to being out in the field, right? And we will go and we'll go sit in the field in the deep woods at night. And I had one of those. What do you call it? Like is it called a parabolic microphone or something like that? And it's like where you can put it, you can face it towards certain directions, and you have your little headphones on, and you can hear things that you normally wouldn't hear with your bare ears, right? And I could hear something very clearly sneaking up, slowly crawling up to where we were, and we were sitting in a truck actually, like in a vehicle, and it might have been one of the creepiest things I've ever heard in my life, because I knew there was, and it was almost like quadruped, right? So it was something crawling on four legs or two hands and 2 feet, right? But it didn't sound like an animal. It had to have been a Bigfoot. It was in Bigfoot country where we do our research. So that kind of stuff is really, really, really creepy to me. But it's also part of the research. You're out there. It's fun.
Look, I'm a fairly hip brother, all right. But I'm telling you right now, if I was out walking in the forest, I look up and I see some Sasquatch walking towards me like a tarantula. I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna trip out, man.
They get like this, yeah.
I'm sort of, yeah. How do you even have time to take for a picture? You see something like that. How do you even take a picture of it? It stuns you so much.
You don't. Okay, so I haven't. Now there is a video of I believe it's in South or Central America of Sasquatch is walking like that tarantula crawl, and there's a dog barking at it, and it's going through a street. There's a CCTV camera that picked it up, and there's a video, and people didn't really know what it was, or like what kind of cryptid is this. Well, I think it was a Bigfoot, and it was doing that tarantula crawl. Okay, and it's all over the internet, but I don't think it's been labeled correctly.
You mean the one going across the street? It
Yes,
looks like it's going in reverse.
Yes.
You think that's a Sasquatch?
I think that's a
never
Sasquatch.
thought about that.
Yeah, it is.
I never
think
thought
it's a
about
Sasquatch.
that.
I think it is.
You're right. That's a quite popular video, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a Sasquatch, and there's a dog barking at it the whole time.
It looks like its eggs, its elbows are reversed or something.
It did. Well, it had his arms out like this, and its legs were like up above its arms. Yeah, it's really odd, very odd. I don't know why Bigfoots do that. That's just it's just their thing. Now, Amy, thank you so much for that super sticker. Yours the sweetest. Thank you. Happy Easter, Amy.
The standing still, I understand, because that's what trees do. When I've communicated with trees, they said they were stationary life forms. That makes sense to me. They just perceive. And that way, Sasquatch seems to be capable of standing still in that same way, even beyond what a ninja would do, So, wow.
The ninja
yeah,
Squatch.
and I'm going to go back and watch that video again now.
Yes.
I'm going to go watch that again now.
Yes, I think that we should all go back and watch that. Well, it's all about changing your perspective on things. That's how we're going to figure out what the heck's going on here. Is that our brains are programmed to think one way, and that video perplexed me for the longest time. And then someone told me about the tarantula crawl that Bigfoot does, and I think Jason Humber, actually, who has that series called Searching for Sasquatch, he and I had talked about that at some point, about some of the documentaries that he's doing, and he had one where they documented, one of his films was about Sasquatch walking like that, and so it opened up my mind to that. So that video that I'd seen made sense, because I thought, well, that has to be fake. Like, that's CGI. What the heck is that? That was a Sasquatch. It was a Sasquatch. Wow. Yeah.
And I mean, this even takes it a step forward than just going down on all fours like gorillas, which they're seen doing all the time. Yes. But this is totally different.
It's weird. Jazz hands. It's like Sasquatch jazz hands with their feet and everything. That could be a great exercise for people to start doing, the Sasquatch crawl. Like, we got the bear crawl. Let's do the Bigfoot crawl, But it's really odd. It's really odd. It takes it to a whole other level of creepy, personally. But they also crawl like a human would crawl on the ground too. There's that famous footage of, I think it's out of Uwharrie, actually, out of North Carolina, of the Sasquatch that was getting the payday bar. It was like a candy bar someone had left on a stump, I believe, and it crawls up and it grabs it and then it takes it back.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was North Carolina, but I'm not positive. But that was where Sasquatch was crawling as well. So yeah, but they move different. It's just like with ETs, Barry. They don't move like humans. They don't move like any other kind of organic being that we have here on Earth.
Something else I asked that client. I was like, well, they know that the quote unquote mitochondrial DNA, the mother's side DNA, is human. Where does the nuclear father DNA come from? You know what they said?
Where?
I don't know if I want to say this, man. I'm going to get myself in too deep.
No, just say it, because that's really cool. Let's hear it. I want to hear it.
Directly from source, the same as angelics and the higher beings. So basically, forget about Gen Bank. There's never going to be a print for them in Gen Bank for the nuclear DNA.
Okay.
That's what they said. I don't make these rules. Okay. I just have to accept them. And I found that very fascinating. And so my response was, so that's what gives them these paranormal abilities? Response, yes. And that they were put here specifically to guard the trees and the planet. They were put here with the trees. They came with the trees.
So does that give them a connection to the Nephilim?
Personally, I think they're different. But then you've got all these different types of Sasquatch, and then that goes into these to these rock the stone giants, and then these other giants, the three-toed and the others. So I don't know. You've got all these different experiments going on here. This petri dish. So I don't know where it begins and ends, but I think that maybe some types of Sasquatch, like the ones we're talking about, maybe are getting blamed to be the Nephilim and things like that when they're not. Yeah. We've got so much going on here. Heck, I was just watching this thing on the James Webb Telescope, a newer thing that 60 Minutes had done. And they were putting out the galaxy so much more than even what I thought. And the different ways they're discovering different types of matter, not just dark matter, dark energy and things, but the way they're discovering so much more creation than ever seen before. Wow. And we're dealing with those type of galaxies out there. So trillions and trillions, and we're stuck on reptilians and grays when we talk in these communities, not these other beings that are coming here, use this place as a petri dish, or thousands of different civilizations coming through here, not just in space, but dimensionally. There's all sorts of stuff going on here.
There's a lot going on here, Barry. It's almost like I do feel like we live in the Matrix, and there's just so much going on. Like, last night I had Donnie Cho on the show, and he and I were talking about just all the strange weirdness. It's almost like we live in a matrix. Like, could someone be like changing our programming all the time? Like, are we jumping timelines? Like, there's so many more cryptids that are showing up today, and so many exotic animals and strange things that we've never experienced before in our lifetime. Now, is it because we've just switched programming? Or like some kind of matrix? I don't know. I mean, it was one thing back when we were kids to believe that Bigfoot could be real. Now we are learning that Bigfoot is complex, and they could possibly be from other planets, and they have their own language, and they walk like a crab. They do a crab crawl and stuff. Like, some of them are telepathic. Some of them are just looking for food all day. I'm learning something new every day. And
perfect example of several different types. I tend to agree with they're saying now that there's more like 10 different types, probably. And we start looking at historically. Very interesting, because if I'm recalling correctly, David Pauletti said they had several different samples, and they all had the same test as far as mitochondrial DNA. That they're all, from the same similar lineage that you trace back. He gave some region even, but I don't believe it. I think that must be a small sample of the Sasquatch population they had. The different types we see, there's no way. The ones especially that look, the ones that look more like the old hominids, like the cavemen. It was an Encino Man. Sorry, that was a terrible movie. That was a terrible joke. Sorry.
It was a great
But it's supposed to be a Sasquatch, wasn't he? Encino Man. Him and Lou Ferrigno, right? The Hulk was anyway, but it's fascinating. I don't know how much supernatural are they, but they must be to a degree, just like the Patty type. I don't know. It's good food for thought.
That's what I always say. Brown Dwarf is in the chat. Hey, Brown. He says that video that I'm referring to is from Costa Rica, he thinks. And I believe that's right. It was somewhere, either Puerto Rico or Costa Rica. I believe so. So you guys look that up.
That's the crawling one, right?
The crawling one, yeah. Well, it's not crawling. It's like doing a crab walk. Well, let's call it the crab walk. Okay, and it does, and it moves sideways, and it moves like forward, and there's a dog barking at it the entire time, and maybe multiple dogs. It's weird. It's super weird.
Somebody, you got such a cool group over here, and I can't keep track because it goes by like lightning fast. But somebody had mentioned kinetic force, and are they using kinetic force? I would say probably yes, but I think they're also doing something with the electromagnetic spectrum. Yes. And I say that based on the way that they also not just drain batteries and things like that, but they there's something electromagnetic that they're doing also. And I think that might have to do also with how they actually manifest the portals as well. I know portals can also be manifested through pranayama, the breath, but you can also do it electromagnetically, and I think they're capable of that. Or I think so too. Even perhaps vocally as well. They've got some vocalizations that are out of control, and it doesn't take too much sound to rupture dimensions.
Okay, well, Barry. Okay, well, let's just say I've seen a video, and it was very interesting. And I do a lot of field research. We have not actually accessed like the whole or gone there with the whole vocalizations, sound frequency experiments and things like that. Other than the CE5, we've done that. I didn't think it got a whole bunch of results personally, but I don't know. You never know, because like we all went back to our tents that night. We all had weird dreams, and so those dreams actually did come up with some interesting data. Okay, so we do use that. Who knows? You can't say things don't work or they do until you access and analyze the data. But yeah. I don't know. It's the sound frequency thing. Okay, I've seen a video of a gentleman who was doing throat singing. Okay, that throat, the real deep throat, guttural singing. Okay, and some people say that when you use like an ancient horn, like a blow a horn, like a shofar or a chauffeur or whatever you call those things like that can open portals. Okay, it's that sound frequency that opens the portals, and things will start to come through, and they will come to you. And I saw a video of a young gentleman who was doing like throat singing, and a Bigfoot showed up. There were like one or two Bigfoots in the background of his video that showed up. So there is something to sound frequency. Very much so. And that's making me think of like the Tartarian Empire, all of the somatics that were used back then, allegedly, the sound frequencies to heal. We have sound healing technology now. And my friend Arlen, she does sound baths. My friend Heather does sound baths with their singing bowls and things like that. Mm-hmm. It's healing for your whole body. I was even watching a video today about cats they're saying that cats, their purrs, like the frequency of their purrs can cure cancer. Mm-hmm. I mean, what is this? What is this wizardry and witchery here? It's not even that. It's just natural healing abilities. It's natural portals opening. I think we need to tap into this more, Barry, or at least look into it. What do you think?
I do have a sibling that has had some experiences, and he's a musician. He's quite a bit older than I. But when he experienced portals, and he also tends to astral project, like naturally, really easy. I used to get irritated because I had to really try to do that. You know what I mean? I'd have to try it. It would happen to him, but it always came associated with music. And when he encountered what I think were extraterrestrials, they approached him through a musical front.
Wow!
And for the record, he described them as being melanin dominant black men with reddish blonde hair.
Ooh,
playing these in a band, and some of them had instruments that he thought was not of Earth.
Wow.
This is what it is,
I mean, you got to think about Star Wars, right? Remember the movie Star Wars and Return of the Jedi and all that? Like, they had like all these ETs that were playing in bands and stuff, right? Do you remember that?
Jazz. They were playing jazz. Yes, I remember. Yes.
They had a jazz flute.
Yeah. Personally, I'd rather be at 10 forward and have Whoopi Goldberg slide me a couple of, maybe a chill Patron shot or something. I don't know.
It's wild, right? But it's almost like we've been shown what the real deal is through all these movies, and they were funny and sci-fi. I've always since I was a kid, I've always said, sci-fi movies and sci-fi shows are real. That's actually reality, and I've inherently known that my entire life. And if I told that to somebody, they thought I was a weirdo. But now who's a weirdo? Not me.
The thing that's different though, like if you're from my experience, being truly on board a multi-dimensional ship, okay, it's not like the Enterprise. All right, it's not like that at all. What it is you've got a weird environment where you're very, very dizzy. Things are off. And like in this environment, there were certain containers that were like these glass eggs that had these lights in them, these plasma configurations in them. Okay, but that really was their environment. Okay. And they're part of the ship in which is connected to that path of coherency to their dimension, their universe, and that's their environment in there, why they're not coming out of there and they're staying in that egg. It took me a while in my experiences to figure that out.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But it is what it is. And they come out of those glass eggs, even on the craft that's enough to sustain me physically, is too much for them. Too dense, they could get trapped. It's an issue. That goes back to those bases, similar to the situation, the bases you just remote viewed for me.
Yes.
They said that those were jumping off points into our solar system because they had problems with the density and with the microwaves, the metals, this atmosphere, and the net that's in this solar system period. But also, also the density. They kept saying density again and again. I get that.
Density. So that would kind of refer to them being able to change their vibrational frequency and their densities, right? Am I right, or am I don't know, like almost being able to go up and down on their frequencies and their vibrational, you know, frequencies,
yeah.
right?
And so often we use the word dimensions, but sometimes maybe
Okay.
density is more appropriate.
That's right.
In
Well,
some
density is
cases.
third density, right? Or third dimension, I guess. I don't know. Okay, Donnie Cho. Oh my gosh, Donnie was my guest last night. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Donnie. He says, I think Sasquatch is good at stealth because each one is hundreds of years old. They've seen it all from us. Avoiding detection would be easy. Yeah, now if listen, they're probably highly advanced, especially if they're super old. Absolutely. And Donnie, I hope you went and got that Korean barbecue tonight, and I hope you enjoyed that. I wish I was there. Drink some soju for me, okay? But
Yeah.
yes, avoiding detection would be easy. They are the masters of camouflage, Barry. Would you agree with that?
Well, I mean, look at the sects you have, like taking the Batman out of it, True Ninjas, all right? And what they
Yes.
did, the whole Shadow League and the Shadow Technique stuff. What they did, right now there's humans that can do that, what Sasquatch do. And you wonder, where did they learn that? One would, like, if you can detect someone and become invisible simply by knowing how the eyes actually work, is first the eyes see motion, then silhouette, then color. Okay. So if you don't have motion, you don't have a silhouette standing out, you don't have the color, you already have a person in disadvantage. And also, people see at a LOS, line of sight, which is they only look so high and so below unless there's movement or something I just said. And then they also, black and white is peripherals in black and white. We don't think it is, but it is. That's why we often see shadow or spirits in peripheral. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean? But those
Shadow
things right there,
figures.
yeah, what we
Yeah.
just discussed right there puts a person at disadvantage for someone that wants to become invisible.
And
Just
guess
like that.
what? We learn that when we're learning camouflage, when we do like camouflage testing and things like that, when we go out to learn, just to blend into your environment, those are kind of the things that you have to know to be able to become undetected by people in your environment when you're learning camo awareness. Okay, let's just call it camo. And that's something that we learn as a Bigfoot field research team. I've been taught that. Sometimes the best place to hide is in plain sight. Okay, plain sight, right in front of everybody, but just right out of the line of vision. Okay, like just barely off the trail, like not right in front of their face, but just right off the trail where people aren't going to be looking because they're going to think you're going to be hiding way off in the bush somewhere.
And then you've
But
got some translucent hair and other things to help you out
yes,
too. It's
well, I
like,
don't
man,
have
okay.
that. Right.
I'm just saying, for them, it's like, man, they got a definite advantage on us. And what he said of them being 100 years old, I wouldn't argue that either, because
Yeah.
that thing that communicated with me out at that ranch, like I said, I don't know it was Sasquatch, but it was doing a good imitation, and it felt extremely old to me, like a very old, like real shaman, a very old one. And that led me to ask James Gilliland,
Uh huh.
um, how old he thought they lived to be. He said 1,500 years. That's a big number, but I can't verify that. But I found it interesting. We know some of them must live normal lifespans, but what about the ones that have the more metaphysical abilities?
We don't know. I mean, there are humans that are said to have lived hundreds of years, thousands of years in the past. Some people like Billy Carson, for instance. I was watching a video of him the other day. He was talking about how our DNA has been changed and modified to where we used to be able to live thousands of years or hundreds of years. To now we live 100 at the max. Okay, 100.
Who
So
who was saying that?
I think I saw a video of Billy Carson from
Who?
Forbidden Knowledge.
Sorry. Oh,
Yeah.
that guy. Oh,
Yes.
gotcha.
Yes, I follow him. So he has some very interesting videos out there. So
Does he?
but there's a lot of people that have these videos, Barry, and there's a lot of people out there who are doing the research. And I mean, you can go on Gaia, that show there, and you can find all sorts of interesting little tidbits of info regarding our past, stuff that's been suppressed from us, things that have been hidden from us. It's all this hidden knowledge, because we've been, not only have we been dumbed down, we've been shortened with our lifespans and our height. Okay, in my opinion.
A lot of that
You know,
happened when the firmament fell,
yeah. Well,
exposing us to so much more solar radiation. That's
well, what I always say, Barry, is like when we talk about the giants, the ancient lost giants, I say, well, are we the little people and those were the normal sized people? That's what I think. But that's that's still to be determined. Okay, it's to be determined.
you know, there's an episode of the Twilight Zone called The Little People. I
Okay.
did a video of the little people, and I know there's some experts you've had on here about the little people. But that was a very interesting Twilight Zone in terms of you have someone our size that is trying to rule over these beings that are too small to even be in Hot Wheels, but then he gets crushed by ones that come to the size of mountains, and that's happened on this planet. You look back at what they say about like Lord Hanneman and the ones that were back then. All those quote unquote demigods were said to be 25 feet tall. You know,
25. That's right.
even who's it?
Absolutely.
Oh gosh, so Gilgamesh they have that's holding the lion. Who's this holding the lion?
Yes, Gilgamesh. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure. Yes.
look at he's holding
Yeah.
that thing like the way you and I would hold a house cat. Hell, we couldn't even hold a house cat like that barely. That dude was a giant. There's just stuff showing up
Yeah.
all over the place. Even the one that who's at the cat Davy popped the cat with the slingshot. Pow! Goliath. He was one of
That
them
was
too.
David and Goliath.
Yeah, he
Yes.
jacked him up right between the
Yes.
eyes. Right. He
But
told him
it,
to
but
go
it's
on somewhere.
but it's also a story of wisdom and like well a little guy can take down a giant with the right determination and focus and agility you know
Well, I
uh, so
mean.
who knows, I don't know.
Well, I just look at it this way. He warned him. He warned the cat to go on somewhere. Stop doing the fee fi fo thing. He didn't do it, and he popped him. Kind of like what is that Star Wars where he turned into Darth Vader? And they were on the thing. He said, "I got the high ground. Don't try it." And the cat said, "I have my power." And he tried to jump over the thing. He cut his arms and legs off. He told him though, "Don't do it." He told him 2 times, "Don't do it."
Yeah, I mean, there's just too much evidence of giants living in our world for so long, and with the mountain ranges that you and I have talked about, with that are like sleeping giants, giants turn to stone. The Kandahar giant. I mean, I've remote viewed some of these giants. These are real. They're modern day giants right now, but they're all hiding in caves. What happened to our giants, Barry? What happened to
Well,
them?
I'm a firm believer that they're coming from underground, down
Absolutely,
underground. We've got
they
these
are.
facilities down here, and just the facilities that you've exposed in your show, I think, are the current ones. But you think about technology and dark forces that have tech. This stuff's been going on a long time here. These factories
Yes.
underground, and I think that's where a lot of these things are coming from.
Yeah.
Sorry, laboratories, factories, whatever you want to call them.
Laboratories. That's interesting, Ron. Yeah, he says that statues in Egypt are life size. I mean, perhaps I've heard that as well. And these are gigantic statues of ancient Egyptians, which we have in the United States as well, by the way.
Well, that's a great point. Thank you, Ron J. And going into that, the ones that they're showing, especially before the first dynasty, those real huge statues. I think he's probably talking about. Those are supposed to be the beings that came from the Triangulum galaxy. And we see some of the triangles on there. It's not always these pyramids. It's not always just representing the pyramids here on Earth, or as always said, "Oh, it's Orion. It's Orion." A lot of that is representing the Triangulum galaxy, where a large amount of melanin dominant beings have come to this planet. We don't hear about it, but it was a cycle before this one, before what our Bible is talking about, and things like that. It's a cycle before, and a lot of those are life size. He's correct. Even Lord Hanneman, they said he was large enough. He was jumping between mountain ranges. That's what they said.
And also Sukalu, the Judicola giant, actually up in North Carolina, he was jumping from mountain to mountain, actually up there. So that is not a story that is just one story. There are several stories of these giants jumping from mountaintop to mountaintop. And I've actually been there to Judicola and to Judicola Rock, and I've heard the stories. I felt the energy up there, and that's where they have the skyships over Cashers. There's not just Bigfoot activity, giant tails. There's the Spearfinger witches up there, and all sorts of other interesting cryptids. Okay, and a lot of weird energy up there. So, yeah,
You
I
know,
don't know, Barry.
in
I think
India,
we're onto something.
there's in Tibet, I think it is. There's a couple of footprints that's supposed to be Lord Hanneman's. I did a video
Okay.
about them,
Oh,
and
that's
that
right.
they say at night there's a species called the Vanara that are seen praying towards this and doing ceremonies around this foot. And the Vanara are supposed to be more monkey men. Somebody had
They're
asked about
worshiping
the
the
rock.
Bigfoot,
So, yeah, somebody asked about the
right?
rock apes in there. So these
Yes.
were not these weren't quite rock apes, but I think when maybe dealing with the rock apes, they're closer to maybe the Vanara. And the thing about the Sasquatch is the Sasquatch all don't have tails, and the Vanara and Lord Hanneman was reported to have a tail. And they're there
Okay.
again because I was looking personally. I invested Lord Hanneman to see if maybe that was the donor from the nuclear DNA. But no, he had a tail, and it's not monkey. This isn't monkey we're dealing with. There's something different.
Yes.
So
Okay.
another one of those to throw in the mix.
Well, okay, before we leave tonight, Barry, so we were talking about the trees, the walking trees perhaps being Sasquatch. Okay, so Tanya, our friend Tanya Braddock, has been up in Washington State, and then also she lives in Idaho, and she sent me some pictures today, which was so fitting because I don't think she knew I was doing a show about the walking trees until this morning, and so she sent me these pictures of all these trees with the roots above the land. Okay, and I wanted to show these before we leave tonight. Some of these pictures by Tanya, and then I'm going to show you one picture, which I think this is a fascinating. Trees having the roots above the ground like that. And she referred to them as walking trees, magical trees. And she had sent me a couple of weeks ago a picture that Angelique, who's a friend of the show, Angelique Benham with the Sasquatch. They're both from the Sasquatch Sisters Northwest. And that's a tree in the middle of the road, Barry, which was very odd. They said it was misplaced. They couldn't understand how this little tree had gotten there, but it was in the middle of a well-worn road. Okay, and so it was just something I thought it was notable. Okay, for us to talk about today, because this tree it just did not fit the location, but it was rooted in that road. But it looks like it's been driven through recently, right where that tree is. Okay, so it's just something to think about. We've run out of time, Barry. We're you and I can
That was a
totally
quick
talk about
hour.
this again. It was a
That was
quick hour.
quick.
It was so fast. Barry, where can people find you, and where can people find your work in your YouTube channel?
Hopefully somewhere. I was just threatened recently to shut my mouth.
Never, never.
Yeah, it's starting to happen. Anyway, a lot of my work right now is on YouTube. I've started to put more stuff on YouTube, and I'm on Patreon, and also on Facebook. I try to post stuff and do a little communication on there. No, I don't have any cool handles. I'm just Barry Littleton on everything. On Instagram too.
Okay, so you're on YouTube and on, let me see, I'll pull it up. On YouTube and on Patreon. Please go, everybody, please subscribe to his Patreon. It is well worth it. Barry, you have such a wealth of knowledge. I appreciate you so much. We have the best conversations. I think this was one of the best. I really have had a great time with
Okay,
you
I thought I
guys.
maybe talked too much this time. Thanks for saying that. I overtalked you. I was kind of
No,
worried.
you
I got too
never.
hyped, and I was,
Listen, you came, and you saw, you conquered. You did exactly what we were supposed to do tonight. Okay. All right, Barry. Thank you so much. We're gonna see you again soon. Okay, and you have a wonderful Easter. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you to
You're
you,
the
thank you to the
best.
audience. Thank you very much. God bless all.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Barry. Okay, we'll see you next time. Okay, y'all, that was awesome. Don't forget that right after this show, After Hours is live right now, live and direct. Join them. They're going to take you on an incredible journey for the next 3 hours. I will see you guys next time on Off the Trails here on the Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel. Please join me this week on my channel, The Cryptid Huntress, on YouTube. I will see you guys next time. After Hours is next. You guys have a wonderful Easter and good night.